The year 2025 is already halfway through, and we can count on an interesting list of unsolved mysteries that plunge us into the strangest part of this reality. From the Buga Sphere, the first UFO collected and shown to the public, radio signals in Antarctica, and even AI videos where deceased relatives are beginning to appear. That's just a glimpse of what you're about to learn in this collection. My name is Leonore Clay, and this is The Darkest Secret. Today we present the strangest mysteries of 2025. Do you remember this video? It appeared in our last video of June 5th, 2025, titled 9 Extreme Horror Videos That Will Make You Hug Your Stuffed Animal. This footage was captured in Buga, Colombia in early March 2025. Several witnesses captured this object traveling erratically through the sky, as if it were losing energy each time. According to witnesses, it emitted colored lights. In fact, this seems to be observed in the video. In our last clip, we briefly showed it, focusing only on the strangeness of the event, but it turns out that many of you started writing to me in the comment box that the sphere had touched the ground and that it had been taken to a university for examination, and that's where this mystery begins. At first, this footage is incredible, and we explained it in our last video. It doesn't look like CGI or AI. Some people said it could be a sphere of rocket fuel that goes into space, but these don't levitate like that. They just fall. Why we concluded that this clip is real, and as you can see, it looked disoriented, as if with some defect. It is said that this sphere fell to the ground and was named the Buga Sphere. From this sphere, we omit a recording which is from another witness. It was levitating in the sky until it collided with a high voltage cable and fell to the ground. It ended up in the hands of one of Colombia's universities, and then in the hands of Dr. Ignacio Alejandro Figueroa, one of Mexico's largest and most famous universities, the Autonomous University of Mexico. Dr. Ignacio is an expert in metallurgy and metal science and has reviewed this area in great detail. It measures approximately 50 centimeters in diameter and weighed about 2 kilograms when it was left on land. But its weight has increased over time, and now it weighs 11 kilograms. These are photos that were taken from the session where they investigated the sphere. What the researcher has on the sphere is a 1,000 times digital microscope. He's placed the microscope in one of the smallest holes in the sphere, and inside it are small round objects, sort of like sensors. They said it's likely to pick up very, very subtle changes in humidity, temperature, etc. in the atmosphere. Look at the image. Those dark holes are a polymer coating the sensor. The researcher says he performed a chemical analysis, and indeed, the treatment given to it is very similar to how we treat optical fibers to protect them. But here, it's on a microscopic scale. The strange thing is that they come in different sizes and distributions. Scientists believe that each of these tiny dots serves to measure different elements of the atmosphere. In this other image, a zoom is taken on one of the small cracks on one of its parts, and even more sensors can be seen. In this same session, radio frequency machines began to detect the presence of signals that were emitted from within the sphere to the outside. Other researchers made studies of the interior and found this strange cup shape. Electromagnetism within the sphere operates in accordance with these sectors. They tested it with a magnet and found that its density changed in the same pattern as the magnet moved. Researchers believe that if they can spin it, perhaps because of its shape and design, they can make it levitate again. That's why they don't want to open it up. They don't want to damage it until they've exhausted all the possibility of making it fly. Because if they open it up to study it, in principle, they're breaking it, and it will stop working. They're going to do this, but first they want to exhaust all the possibilities to see if with external studies they can make it levitate. They believe if they can spin it at a specific speed, they could activate its internal functioning, as long as the spark from colliding with the high voltage cable hasn't ruined its internal components, which are extremely strange. Look at this other photo, taken by a scientist who applied X-rays. It is clear that it is not hollow. It is completely dense inside, but its density changes as it reaches the center, and the materials that make it up are still a mystery. Some have come forward to say that this is a fraud, and that it is a rocket fuel tank. Although it seems quite similar, this theory is completely ruled out by the following study. In this image, the expert says he completely rules out the possibility of this having any joints or welds. This device practically grew like this. If someone made it, they grew it like someone grows a fruit. It grew with a kind of chip and with this deliberate structure. Its interior, with different densities, as if protecting something inside, happened without anyone opening it. A fuel tank, first of all, would have been seen hollow in this X-ray test, since its function is to contain a fluid, gas or liquid. In addition, welds would definitely be seen. Weld lines would be visible, especially if they're friction or electron welding. They're more visible in X-rays if they are density differences or inclusions. Perhaps internal valves or diffusers would also be visible. None of that is present in the Buga Sphere. So until some scientist travels to the university and sees it for themselves and detects something human-made like welding, then it could be a hoax. But so far, this object is a mystery, one of the biggest in recent times, and they still can't deny it, because I insist. To do so, they must go see the sphere and request a research permit from the university. One thing I hadn't mentioned before. To perform the test, they had to clean it of a black stain that was caused from the spark. When they tried to do that, steam started coming out, even with the sphere cold. That's not normal. Its shape is striking, and objects with this same shape have been found before. The Klerksdorp spheres are small, pyrite balls that miners have been finding in Natal, South Africa, on Precambrian strata dating back 2.8 billion years. The difference is that these spheres don't have that chip on top, those marks or holes. But if this thing grows like fruit, it could very well naturally lose its technological details, especially if you consider that when this object was found, it had a different weight. Experts have reviewed the video and found no details to prove it's fake, neither AI nor CGI, nor could it have been a drone with a sphere hanging from it. However, and to be completely transparent with you, this sphere, which is being analyzed, was collected by a company that works in metallurgy. They could have made, perhaps in record time, a solid sphere full of technological elements from a mold. That's why the supposed sensors are seen distributed almost at random. That could have happened because there could be no traces of something holding the components inside the mold. But why would they do something like that? Why pretend they found the real sphere in the videos? That's the real question. Because maybe they did find the real one, but asked that a modified sphere be shown to the media simply to silence the question of where is the real one? Because finding an alien device is a technological goldmine for any country. If I were president of Colombia and they informed me that a man grabbed a floating alien sphere, obviously I would want to keep it to reverse engineer it and be the country that discovers anti-gravity, for example. It would project the country hundreds of years into the future. But the videos are there, and nothing better to silence the question is to move to another sphere that sooner or later will be shown to be fake, and that will also nullify the veracity of the videos, which are very likely real. And there, this story will die. No one will ask any more questions. So we can be almost certain of one thing. The videos are very likely real. As for the sphere itself, it needs further study. Perhaps they'll discover its components are terrestrial and that it was made from a mold. Hence, its science fiction-like markings and decorations. But that would open up even more questions. Where and who has the real sphere? This story will most likely be buried. The next mystery you are about to discover falls straight into the paranormal. AI is advancing by leaps and bounds. A few years ago, we had the Will Smith eating noodles nightmare. But today, it's getting harder and harder to differentiate AI from what's real. There are musical artists who are using the same technology to create visual experiences that seem like they're straight out of a dream. One of them is Svetlana, a Chilean urban artist who mixes music with AI-generated visuals. And while there are people in the comments on her videos who say that there's something strange about them, something mysterious and difficult to explain. But that's not what I want to talk to you about in this section. There's another mystery, much more massive, and that's beginning to terrify many. I'm talking about the deceased relatives who are appearing in AI-animated photos.
Como cuando grabas con un efecto de la IA y se atraviesa tu abuelito que lleva 11 años de fallecido, ¿soy la única a la que le ha pasado esto?
Videos like this are starting to appear constantly. In fact, the girl shows her deceased grandfather, as many insisted it could have been a generational bug.
Me asusté muy feo, mi novia se asustó muy feo, mi mamá hasta lloró, entonces, pues sí, ahí les voy a contar la evidencia.
But the old man has the same posture. He even seems to walk the same way. AI can simulate that. Videos like this are starting to appear in droves, with people saying that deceased people are starting to sneak into their videos. In a hospital where children sadly die, a girl tried to liven up a photo where she was alone with this boy, but two other children sneak into the video. She believes they are children who could have died there. Interesting theories appeared in the comments. They theorized that the AI, in order to animate, transforms the input image into a format that can accurately extrapolate people's features and appearance, filters it to highlight these aspects, and then, once it detects faces in the image, projects learned human behavior. They say that perhaps by applying these filters, the photos manage to capture the faces of these children. Here, in this photo, the AI turned the woman's purse into another girl's face. What if it's not just a mistake or a confusion? What if the photo already had pixels representing a girl's features, but it's not noticeable until the AI transforms and digitizes the original image to understand it? However, there's another, even more interesting case out there. A woman named Geneva was testing an AI filter that allows you to enlarge a photo. She wanted to enlarge a photo of her pets, which showed her dog and cat. She wanted to change the phone format to 16 by 9. However, what the AI delivered was the following. The image showed the dog, the cat, an enlarged room, but also there was a woman there, one with a strange face, somewhat distorted. Of course, according to the comments in the other videos, the AI can incorporate people who don't exist in the photo, just to try to extend a detail that the AI thought was a person. Perhaps the shape of the purse, when filtered, looked like a girl's face, and that's why the AI drew it that way. That's what they said for this photo too. But there was a problem here. This wasn't a random woman. Whoever requested this photo from the AI was able to recognize her. She looked a lot like her deceased mother. How did the AI manage to draw such a similar person without having their photo as input? Little by little, this is becoming a mystery. More and more people are claiming that loved ones, deceased relatives, appear in their AI animations. How can this be possible? Is it just a trick? Only you can be the judge. I'll read your comments. And the last mystery has the entire scientific ecosystem on its head. In March 2025, something very strange happened. A group of scientists detected radio signals that weren't coming from space. No, they were coming from below, from the interior of the coldest and most uninhabited continent on Earth. I'm talking about... The scientists were extremely surprised. They hadn't expected to detect radio signals coming from underground, beneath the ice. The signal was repetitive, oscillating, like an echo that had never been heard before. But the most disturbing thing was that it didn't behave like any natural wave. No seismic vibrations, no volcanic activity, not even climate change. Nothing known. In laboratories in the South, experts analyzed the pulses with advanced equipment, and what they found was even more disconcerting. The frequencies seemed to shift in patterns similar to those of an artificial transmission, as if something or someone from within the ice was trying to communicate. Some researchers compared the signal with neutrino recordings, but the trajectory was reversed. Neutrinos normally come from outer space and pass through the Earth, but these seem to emerge as if they were coming from the very heart of the planet outward. That's incredibly odd. What if they were neutrinos? On Reddit, some users theorize it could be a secret underground base, perhaps a military one. Others, more daring, claim it's an ancient sign from a civilization buried in the ice that predates humans. An even more disturbing theory suggests that the ice is acting as a giant quantum amplifier, and that the signals are coming from a different dimension, not from underground, but from within reality itself. For now, science has no answers, only more questions. Why are the signals still active? What phenomena could produce a radio echo that changes shape with no visible source? In the silence of Antarctica, there is something that speaks, and the world still doesn't know if it should listen to it. Nothing like this has ever happened in Antarctica before. These are some of the strangest mysteries of the year so far, and we're sure to discover even more as time goes on. Which one struck you the most? Leave your hypothesis in the comment box, because this video has already come to an end. My name is Leonore Clay, and this was The Darkest Secret.